station. This is MSNBC. How do you hear me?
I hear you loud and clear. Welcome aboard the space station.
Well, love being with you and chatting with you, Commander Kelly. Want to start off by saying huge congratulations on your first ever spacewalk. So huge congratulations on that. You left the space station to get some maintenance chores done. You had a long laundry list, if you're going to call it that, of things to do. 7 hours, over 7 hours. But did you take a moment before having to knock all those out to kind of soak it all in and really realize how exhilarating it really is when you stepped outside?
Yeah, there were certain times when there was a little downtime that I could appreciate the view. One was when we opened up the hatch, and it took us a little while longer to get outside, so I had the view of the Earth down below, and that was pretty spectacular. You know, it's kind of hard to describe the difference in the view when you're just looking through the thin pane of glass of the helmet versus 3 panes of glass here through the window of the space station or the space shuttle. It's pretty spectacular.
And with all the extraordinary things that you do on a daily basis, do you still have those pinch yourself moments where you kind of sit back maybe at that time and kind of go, you know what, this is pretty darn cool?
You know, sometimes I think just when I'm doing my everyday work here and, you know, floating from one place to another and doing all the important things we do, I find it hard to believe that I'm actually, you know, living on the space station, and I've been here since March. And, you know, that's been the case with all my flights. This is really a privilege to be able to do this, and I think, you know, the most of the folks, anyway, that have a chance to do this recognize it as a privilege.
Before you left, you said probably the toughest part or what you'll miss most is the human interaction, the contact with others. You've been in orbit for 216 consecutive days with limited human contact. Now that you're at this point, is it tougher than you thought it would be, just as tough?
That's, you know, it's hard to say when you think back to, you know, what your expectations were of I think, anything in life. I definitely feel like I've been up here for a long time, almost like I have forgotten what it's like to live on Earth and do, you know, certain, you know, all the stuff we get to experience on Earth. And I do recognize that I have a long time ahead of me, you know, but having said that, I think I'm pretty sure I'm going to get through it without much issues.
Is that for you, knowing you're literally worlds away and there's the detachment and you hear and see all the things that are happening here on Earth, world events, news events, presidential politics and the race for president? We saw your Instagram picture of Hurricane Patricia, but knowing that there is that detachment that you can't be part of, is that tough for you at all?
You know, that's a good question. I think in some ways you have a different sense of being, you know, an audience for the things that happen on Earth, and you feel detached from it, and I think as a result you pay more attention to it with kind of a different level of attention, maybe, you know, more empathy, more trying to, you know, understand why certain things happen and why we are the way we are and do things that we do. You know, it's definitely a different perspective that, you know, I feel like I have, and, you know, and I think it's because of we are not on Earth.
Well, it's fascinating, your view and how you share it with us on your Instagram feed. I'm your newest follower because it is fascinating, and I loved your flu shot that you gave yourself. Interesting, it's part of the mission with your twin brother also getting his. It's part of the twin study here, and also your space burger in that as well. So, you know, it's funny that you kind of have your sense of humor up there with you, too.
You know, I think, you know, we have an obligation to share, you know, what we do here. And, you know, certain things like the incredible view and, certain like daily life activities, I think, that, people appreciate. So, I try to do that as much as I can and as much as my spare time allows. And it's, it's something I enjoy.
And how about the space burger? Was it good? And if not, what are you looking forward to the most when you get back as far as eating or doing?
Well, this space burger was not a Earth burger, so it definitely wasn't as good. But as far as stuff to do, I'm definitely looking forward to the freedom that we have, and I think I appreciate my freedom now more than I've been up there this long. The ability to just walk outside, the ability to decide what you're going to do on a certain day. Our schedule is pretty much planned out for us, minute by minute most of the days, and there's a reason for that, and it makes sense, but it still, I think, causes you to really appreciate the freedom you have to choose what you're going to do, when you're going to do it. That most people, free people on Earth enjoy, at least, which we are a part of that in the United States. So, it's something I definitely don't take for granted, maybe as much as I did before doing this, and something I look forward to.
Now, like watching the presidential debate last night, were you able to catch it?
We were pretty tired after that EVA, but I did see some of it on the news here that we have TV news running, so I saw some of the highlights.
Yeah, but I can imagine a 7+ hour spacewalk with all that list of lubricating the tips, getting all that grease and everything else that you got to do might keep you a little bit busy and might wear you out just a little bit. Commander Kelly, thank you so much again. Congratulations on that spacewalk, and best of luck to you. Hope to speak with you again.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Stay well.
Station, this is Houston ACR. That concludes the MSNBC portion of the event. Please stand by for a voice check from Time Magazine.
Space Station, this is Time Magazine. How do you hear me?
I hear you loud and clear, Shaul. Help me.
Scott, it's great to hear your voice. Congratulations on the spacewalk yesterday. Take me back to that moment where the hatch opens and it all reveals and it gets going. How do you feel?
We were early, so I actually wasn't sure whether we were going to open up the hatch in daylight or darkness. I wasn't quite sure what time of day it was. The hatch doesn't have a window in it. So when I, cranked it open and it, started coming up, to see the sunlight come in was, it was pretty spectacular. And then to have the hatch open and for the time we did before we went outside and to, just look at the Earth, it's, it's really hard to describe. It was more impressive, more brilliant looking through the helmet than I expected it to be. So, it was pretty spectacular.
After hundreds of hours of training and years, I guess, of anticipation for the first one, how different is it than being in the pool, dropping into the real one?
The other thing I was actually surprised about, which I wasn't expecting, was how similar it is to the pool. Most of the stuff is very much the same. How you how you work, how you manage your tethers, how you feel in the suit, how the gloves feel. The difference with this is the fact that you're 250 miles above the Earth, flying around at 17,500 miles an hour in a vacuum. And extremes of temperatures and all the other things that environment brings, and if you put that part of it out of your mind, it's actually really quite similar to working in the pool. The pool's a great environment for training us.
One thing, Scott, that's different is we were here in Houston watching every moment, and I was worried for you. It's real. After 7 hours, how relieved and how tired were you getting back in there?
Yeah, so we were pretty tired. It's physically it's tough in some ways, especially on your hands. It's I think most of the fatigue comes from the amount of attention you're paying to what you're doing, and trying to have 100% focus for not only the 7.5 hours or so we were outside, but our day started at 6 a.m. and we got right into the activities for getting into the suit. By the time we got outside, I think it was about 12 p.m. our time, and then 7 hours later, by the time we were out of the suits, it was and cleaning up, it was 9 o'clock at night of 100% focus. So I think that part of it is what makes it most fatiguing.
Moving on, Scott, NASA discovered water on Mars and announced that not long ago while you're up there. How much did that affect you? Your one-year mission is also part of the push to get to Mars. Was it personal? Was it special? Or was it different to receive the news up there?
Well, I think it's exciting to find a discovery like that there is liquid water on Mars. We knew there was frozen water. Water is obviously very important to life, and when we go to Mars, we'll need water, and it'll be great if we don't have to bring it with us. But weight is very expensive to orbit, and if we can tank up while we're there, that'll drive the cost down for getting to Mars and maybe hopefully make it a lot closer. We follow a lot of the news up here and the space news, the flyby of Pluto, water on Mars, other things like that are very exciting to us, especially those that put us closer one day, like I hope this mission does to sending people to Mars.
I know you love what you do, and it's amazing. Can you tell me, though, one day or one moment where you really said, God, I wish I was home?
Yeah, there are those moments. They're mostly personal in nature that I probably wouldn't share here. But I think we all have them at times. But for me, I do feel like this is a privilege. Not only to be here for a whole year, but just to have the chance to fly in space in general and represent my country. Formerly when I was in the Navy, represent the Navy as an astronaut working in a program that's very important for us, our future, and an international program, which has really been one of the highlights of this space station partnership.
Since you left, I find myself often tracking the ISS app and kind of looking for you to make a pass. I feel connected. I look at the space station. On the flip side, do you guys ever up there kind of feel like you're looking at Earth as your whole life is up there and we're like the spaceship, or does that make sense to you?
Yeah, absolutely. You definitely feel like there's a window right here that looks right down on the Earth. It's actually open now. It's dark. I'm not sure exactly where we are, but you definitely feel like you're here, and everyone else and everything that you care about and love and, is important to you is down there. And I think it gives you a different perspective, a little bit more, I find myself like following the news and things that go on Earth more closely, and it actually has more of a personal feeling to it. I guess, I said in the previous interview, a little bit more empathy, I think, and just because you realize everything else is over there, and just gives a little bit different perspective.
Does it ever get lonely up there?
No, I wouldn't say lonely. We have the ability to interact, electronically, to talk on the phone. So, that provides an outlet for those kind of feelings. We get along great as a crew, and I really appreciate the time I get to spend with my other crew members here. But at the same time, you do miss people on Earth that are important to you, and more of a variety of interaction. But I wouldn't call it loneliness.
You are obviously doing the one-year mission with Misha. How is your relationship with him kind of unraveling itself as time goes by, as the days tick away?
Well, I wouldn't use the word unraveling. I would use, more of, our bond is stronger. We recognize we're in this together, and we call each other brother. My one-year space brother, Misha. So he's doing great, and I couldn't be up here with a better person to do this with.
What's one of the greatest moments you've had up there? Something, if you can describe a moment that you just said, wow, this is still amazing. I love this.
Certainly, doing a spacewalk is the highlight, but it's not, or one of the highlights. I'll tell you what the other one is here in a second. But it's not like this fun kind of thing, that you would think it is. It's very challenging, mentally, somewhat physically. It's it's hard work, and I think it's that type 2 kind of fun that you say, oh, that a few weeks later, a few months later, you said, that thing that I did really hard, like climbing Mount Everest, that was a lot of fun. But you don't think it's kind of fun when you're doing it. It's definitely an experience to remember, but not like what a lot of people would think it would be like. But the other highlight is just being able to participate in this and do it with a great team. Not only the folks here, but not only my crewmates, but all the people on the ground that make these missions happen. That's really the highlight for me.
You've been there for 215 days. You're about to break the record for the longest American continuous flight. How you're holding up, and how does it feel kind of being so long away and being out not on Earth?
Yeah, so, what's Earth? I kind of forgot what it's like to live down there, it seems like. Yeah, and I'm being sincere. There are certain, senses and things that I'm like, wow, that seems like so long ago. And, I also look at it like I have a long ways ahead of me, too. The other day we figured out, I was like, actually, the other crew that's up here with us, Chell, Kimmy, and Oleg, we kind of crossed over we both had 61% left, and that was a few days, like last week. And, now they have less time percentage left than I do. That was our crossover point. And, so I do recognize I've been up here a long time, long way to go, but I don't think it'll be any issue me making it to the end with the same level of enthusiasm and energy I had going into this.
Scott, thank you very much. Just a warm, big hug from Jonathan, Christina, and me here, and everyone at Time. We miss you, and we'll see you when you're back. Thank you.
Thanks. Look forward to seeing you guys, too, and great talking to you.
Same here.
Station, this is Houston ACR. Thank you. That concludes the event.